Testing, testing. Hopefully you can hear. Meeting over here instead of on Zoom so that if you miss any of this, you can go back and look at it again. We'll start in just a minute or two. And if you have any questions, then please let me know. So they gave us this week some information. This is about 50 pages. I'm gonna try and hit the highlights, but also touch upon everything they say so that you can get a good idea of everything they're talking about and get all your questions answered about your AP test. So let's go through here and get started. First off, there's a lot of different resources that I'll take you through in a little bit. One of the biggest ones that we'll be looking at next week is a testing demo, which will kind of take you through what the exam page is going to look like. I'll also send out a video that they made for exactly what everything is going to look like. So that's kind of an outline of what we're going to look at. This is how to get into the AP exam, things you need to do. Again, I'll also send out a checklist for it. Exam day, how exam day is going to work, and then exam scores. So about your ticket, you're going to get an email 2 days before each test. 2 days before each test for you to be able to sign in to each exam that you're registered for. You're going to get a different ticket for each exam, and you're going to be asked to enter it before you start the test. Don't share your e-ticket with anyone. You could lose your chance to test. If someone else signs in under your name, they're going to have ways to detect that. So please use your ticket for your exam. Don't share it with anyone. I don't want your score to get disqualified. This is the schedule. Here's Calc. Here's AP Lit. Here's Chemistry. Here's APUSH. Here's APLAC. Here's Stats. And here's Spanish. That'll give you... Those are the big ones, I think, that we're focused on. All exams offer a June makeup date. Their advice is to save the makeup date for if there's an emergency that happens on your test day. And people have responded that they prefer to test on the May dates anyway, because there is not going to be any other makeup times. So if you test on the makeup date, this is your one chance to get it right. So reserve this for if some major emergency happens on test day. That's what this is meant for. Local time. Here's the main thing to look at on this one. Don't worry if you don't complete all parts of the question before you need to attach and submit your response. To give students as many different chances to demonstrate what they know as possible, a question may have more parts than can be answered in the allowed time. You don't need to complete the entire question to get a score of 5, but you do need to submit whatever work you've done. If you don't submit, then you'll get no credit. If you submit partial work, you can get some credit. So please make sure you submit work before time is up. Yes, there's going to be an archive, yes. So, and feel free to scroll back. It'll still be here if you need it. What to expect on this year's exams? They're going to... this is just saying they're going to work to be as fair as possible with their scoring and all that kind of stuff. 3 different ways that you can submit your responses. You can copy and paste a typed response, you can attach a typed response, or you can attach photos. So let's go through each way. Copy and paste a typed response. This is probably for your history and English. If you want to type in another browser, have the question and your document side by side, and then copy and paste into the document, you can just select that option and go ahead and copy and paste. That's where you'd want to have it open on your browser, on your desktop computer or your Chromebook or whatever, and be able to type your responses and copy paste them in. If you do want to do this, you can also attach a text file. So if you want to just submit the attached Word document, that's fine. Here's the formats that they accept. And whatever you use, whether you're using the handwritten thing or a typed thing, you need your APID and your initials at the top of each page that you're submitting. You're going to need your APID and your initials at the top of each page. So on these options, you would want a laptop or desktop computer. If you're going to submit handwritten responses, which you might prefer on your math AP tests, or like in chemistry, then you may want a handwritten response. Now you can submit typed responses. They're going to have some math notation stuff for you to use if you need it. And if you want to submit typed responses, then they'll have a couple tools for you to do that. But my guess is that most of you are going to prefer to use handwritten work. And so if you're going to do that, then you'll want to view the question and access the AP test through your phone so that you can take pictures of your response and submit them. And there's your acceptable file formats. And you want to start submitting when there are 5 minutes left on the section. When there are 5 minutes left on the section. And the timer, this may be on a future slide, but the timer is going to show, for example, for question 1, it's going to show 30 minutes. You'll have 25 minutes to answer the question and 5 minutes to submit. And you want to keep an eye on the timer. Once that timer hits 0, then you're done and you can't submit anymore. And once you hit submit, then that's finalized and you can't work anymore. So make sure you're ready when you hit submit and make sure you actually do submit. Oh, I was going to talk about the timer. Back to the timer. The timer is going to show if it's 25 minutes and 5 minutes to submit your response, then it's going to show 30 minutes. And then when there are 5 minutes left, when you should be submitting your response, then the timer is going to turn red to show that you have 5 minutes left and you should start submitting. If you finish the first question early, then it's just going to leave you on the screen and send everybody to question 2 at the same time. You're not going to get extra time on question 2 if you finish question 1 early. So take all the time you need on question 1 to read, answer, and submit your responses. If there's one question, then you're going to get 50 minutes. That's on the English tests. English tests are one essay question. If you have questions on how this is going to work, please let me know. And again, even if it's handwritten work, put your AP ID and your initials at the top. If you're submitting multiple pages, then put page numbers at the top and make sure you submit them in order. Music theory, they need you to record because you would need to record some sight singing. Same thing for world languages. You're going to have an app that you're going to need to download. If you're taking, this is for Spanish, you're going to have an app that you would need to download, and you're going to use that to record your speaking. Accommodations, if that applies to you. Requesting a makeup exam. Makeup exams, I'll stress this again, makeup exams should only be for emergencies. Emergencies involve something like the power went out in my house halfway through the test. Emergencies may be I was alone in the house and in charge of my 5-year-old sibling and started bawling uncontrollably and I couldn't focus whatsoever. If that happens to you, then there's a form you can fill out on this link to request a makeup exam. You need to have your original ticket and you need to submit that form, and they'll let you know if you're going to be approved for a makeup date. So significant disruptions, battery failures, that kind of thing. Just because you simply running out of time is not a valid reason to request makeup testing. And remember that if after the June date, there's no other makeup tests. So if you can finish on the May dates and get it done, then have it done. But if an emergency happens, you can request a makeup date. Further details and tips. 5 steps to take before exam day. Here we go. Review your contact information. Make sure you've been getting emails from AP because they're going to email you your exam ticket. So if your email hasn't been showing the emails from College Board and AP, then please make sure that that's there so that they can send you your exam ticket for exam day. Check your tech. Obviously, just like I've been talking about double checking your calculator to make sure it's working and make sure it's charged, uh, please double check your device now to make sure that it's plugged in and working and connected to the internet, all that good stuff. You know, if you're using your Chromebook, make sure your Chromebook is charged and plugged in and ready to go. If you're using your phone, then keep it fully charged uh, so that something doesn't happen with your battery. Prepare your documents if you're going to submit by typing in a Word document. Use white paper, lined or unlined. Use paper that's standard size or close to it. Number 2 pencil or a pen with blue or black ink for writing. And you'll be allowed up to 5 pages of work for question 1 and up to 5 pages of work for question 2. So you'll have enough space to write everything you need to. There's an AP exam demo. I'll send that out next week when they post a more specific link. They'll send out some information about that next week. So you'll have some practice with exactly what the testing area is going to look like. Now, on exam day, they're going to suggest that you complete a checklist that I'll send out for all your AP tests. So I'll be posting that and talking about that more tomorrow. But make sure you get that done. What is permitted? I'm going to talk about this. Keyboarding tip sheet. Again, if you're typing your responses, there's going to be there's going to be some ways that you can type in stuff like integrals and derivatives and different fractions and bits of notation and square roots and all that. So they're going to have ways for you to type that in. Same thing for stats. There's going to be ways for you to type in specific things. You're also permitted a calculator. You're also permitted your class notes or study guides, textbooks, and other classroom resources. Stats, make sure you have your gold formula sheet that we've been using throughout the year. Please make sure you have it. If you need another copy of it, let me know before test day. And same thing for stats. There's a keyboarding tip sheet if you're going to type your responses. If you're handwriting your responses, then don't worry about that. And you are allowed a calculator for the whole test in both calc and stats. More requirements for tests that I do not teach. All right, advice about optional resources. If you don't already know, AP Live has been posting notes and outlines and review sessions every day for all the different classes. So, for example, last week they did some for stats. They did some stuff on probability and binomial and geometric distributions. So you can check that out. I know I've sent one when they started talking about limits and calculus. There's a whole playlist where they've been doing a ton of review sessions. So that's one of the big things that we've done. I haven't used AP Classroom a whole lot, but if you want to explore AP Classroom and look through and see what kind of resources are there, they have a couple of practice questions in addition to the free responses that we've already been looking through. Internet searches will waste your time and put you at risk of an exam violation. Internet-based facts, research, and opinions aren't relevant to the AP exam and won't raise student scores. Copying from websites, social media, or online forums is considered plagiarism and will be detected and scores canceled. They've talked a lot to us about the tools that they have in place to discourage and catch cheating. And we will get your scores back as well. So if you are suddenly cheating and writing things in a way that you've never written them before, then we're going to know. So please don't try to do any of that. Because the colleges are going to be notified too if you're caught cheating. And you don't want questions about that on your first day of college. Look for your email confirmation and e-ticket emails. So May 4th, you'll receive the list of exams you're registered for and all that kind of stuff. That's also when they'll do the practice. They'll release the demo for the practice exams. 2 days before each exam, you're going to receive an email with your e-ticket and ID. Here's the checklist. Here's what it looks like. I'll send it out probably either later today or tomorrow. I'll send out this file for you to fill out. Actually, I'll send it out right now. Let me send that out right now. So this is what that looks like. I would suggest that you print this off and have it for each AP test you're taking. So if you're taking AP Calc, AP Lit, and AP Spanish, then have one for each of them. Because, for example, there's some things that you need to have ready separately for Spanish than some of these other ones. So Calc and Stats, I'm sending this out to you guys. And this is a checklist of everything that you might need for exam day. Now, in fact, I may assign this to have you fill it out and have it due next week, just so that I know that you have done that for this test. Exam day. They want you to check in because they need you to fill in your typical information that you fill out before the AP test. Complete identity information. They're going to have security checks for test security. So come in 30 minutes before your start time. 30 minutes before your start time. And like I said, you're going to have 25 minutes to read the questions. Timer's going to turn red when there's 5 minutes left for you to submit your responses. And then the second question, you're going to have 15 minutes to do the question and 5 minutes to submit your response. World languages. Testing environment. Put yourself in a place where you're going to be distracted. Try and if you tend to have internet issues in your home, then limit the use of other internet stuff like streaming and other things that take up a lot of bandwidth. Have your checklist and any other required documents like your formula sheet. Have your calculator by you. Let people in the house know that you're going to be testing so that they don't disturb you. Enable the do not disturb or quiet setting on your device. You don't want to get a phone call while you're trying to look at the test on your phone. I'll say this again. You may not incorporate work which is not your own, and you may not provide or receive aid of any kind from anyone. To identify students attempting to receive help through the web, a phone, or social media, sophisticated detection technologies and processes will be applied. Most techniques will remain confidential to maximize their effectiveness. We will be monitoring social media and discussion sites to detect and disrupt cheating. We may post content designed to confuse and deter those who attempt to cheat. Attempts to cheat will be detected immediately during testing and will be identified in June and July. I trust you guys. But please, be sensible about this. All right. It doesn't do any I'll say one more thing about this. It doesn't do any good for you to somehow suddenly be placed in a multivariable calculus class when you don't know the calculus that you need. For example, that doesn't help you at all. Check into your exam. So 30 minutes before the start time, you're going to enter your AP ID. You're going to enter some, informational stuff like your name and email address and all that kind of stuff, and get your, there's going to be some test security questions, all that kind of stuff. There's going to be a countdown to when the exam starts. And then once the exam starts, it'll automatically take you to the first question. Then once the first question is done, it's going to automatically take you to the second question. You do not need to refresh your browser, and you shouldn't refresh your browser. Okay, clearly label your stuff. Again, AP ID and initials at the top of each page. Put page numbers at the top. Timer turns red when there's 5 minutes left. Submitting your response, you can choose how you're going to submit. Here's kind of what those pages are going to look like for whether you're attaching a text file, attaching a photo, and pasting your response. Again, I'll send out a little kind of 5-minute video that has a summary of a lot of this information, but I wanted to give a more detailed information myself so that you had that to access and you could ask questions. So please, if you have questions, ask them so that I can answer it in this video, because we're almost done. Again, if something goes wrong, you request a makeup, there's a link. Exam scores, credit, and placement. This is just AP advertising themselves and saying, we're a really reputable resource. Look at all these colleges that are trusting us to do the right thing and have the test scores. Stay safe and healthy. All right. Check your tech. Make sure you have the latest versions of whatever browser you're using. Make sure whatever browser you're using is your default browser, all that stuff. All right. So, brief rundown. We put ourselves back on page 1. Brief rundown. You'll have an AP, you'll have a filled out AP checklist that you need to work on. Next week, you'll have a demo session where they'll show you what some of the information is going to look like, how the navigation through the testing is going to work. And it'll just be, here's kind of a dummy question that, a kind of standing question that we're going to give you 10 minutes to look at and submit, just so that you can see what it looks like and that you can get comfortable with how the process works for submitting things. One other thing to keep in mind is that as long as you have hit submit, then your work will eventually be submitted. So if you submit and it's taking a while to upload the file, then don't panic. If it goes on to question 2, then don't panic. It is still going to be kind of working in the background on getting on processing the file and getting it worked on. As long as you hit submit before time is up, you should be fine. So don't panic even if that happens. Any other questions about testing or test day or the information you might need. Or how the test is going to work. I'm actually going to put up, here's what I'm going to put up. I'm going to put up the schedule again. Here it is. Again, my tests are, calc is going to be at 1 o'clock on Tuesday the 12th. That is less than 2 weeks from now. And then 3 weeks from tomorrow at 1 o'clock for stats. All right. And if you have any further questions about any of this information, we'll have our normal meetings tomorrow to go through the free response questions that you have to do. So if you think of any other questions, then feel free to ask me then. I'll ask before we start going over free responses if there's anything, any kind of questions that we have that we need to answer. And so, other than that, hopefully this helps kind of ease your worries and helps you see what to expect. And you'll have more information coming next week about what to expect. So, I will talk to you tomorrow, and we'll keep going and keep working. We just have a little bit more left before we are done here. So keep at it, and I'll see you tomorrow to go over some free responses. Talk to you soon. Take care.